I want to show you something that's going to help you improve your paradigms. Turn on Devanagari. If you don't want Devanagari, you can just turn off transliteration at the bottom. So verbs, okay? And I'll just go change level. Let's do class 1. Ni, lead. It says on the top, first person singular. First person, second person, third person. Okay, and then you got singular. We've got dual. Oops. And we have plural. So, we've got gachami here. We've got gachasi, you go. We've got gachati, you go. Sorry, he, she, it goes. And then we got gachavaha, we two go. Gachataha, you two go. Gachataha, those two go. And we got gachamaha, we all go. Gachata, you all go. And gachanti, they all go. Take note of this. Single, dual, plural. First person, second person, third person. And this app says first person singular of ni. Now remember, ni is nayati. What will be first person singular of he, she, it leads?
Nayami.
Nayami. Then you click on Nayami. Green equals correct. Next one. Identify the person and tense of kanawaha, gachawaha, kanawaha, gachawaha, kanawaha. So, right, we two dig. So which one would this be?
First person dual.
Good. Click, correct. Sta, stand, tish, ta, ti.
Ishtami.
Now let me just go back and for the rest of us, I'll turn this off. Jayawaha.
First dual present active.
Kananti. Dig.
Third plural present active.
Ooh. Bhu.
Bhavatha.
Ta. Sta, stand.
Tishtataha.
Well done, Mina, you are absolutely rocking it. First person single.
Karomi.
Let's do our nouns. Nouns ending in E and U. So we've got Muni and Guru.
Ablative dual.
Ablative dual. Okay. Arrow. Ishawaha. Guravaha. Ishawaha.
Nominative plural.
Has your appetite been whet by now by this app? That was the whole purpose. Welcome to lesson 21, and we will cover traditional methods of memorization. Okay, how to memorize a verse. Nouns ending in as, like manas, and bahuvrihi, compound. For revision, think of it as, in English, red coat. So the formula is one whose member two is member one. So one whose coat is red. Okay, so if you want to say in Sanskrit, Maha Gajaha, the same formula will apply. One whose elephant is great. And then step 2, you say, what could that be relating to? Indra. And therefore, the translation will not be the one whose elephant is great, but the translation will be Indra. And the second point is, of Bahurihi, is that the last member will violate its own paradigm. In other words, it will qualify the paradigm of the word that it is pointing to. For example, let's say the great Maha, the great being, Mahapurusha. Now, suppose that being is a female, right, which ends in A. So we'll say Purushaha, right? It's going to get violated. So instead of saying Mahapurushaha, we'll say Mahapurusha. How to translate chapter 2, verse 49? First, let's go through the words. Durena Hyavaram Karma. So step 1, just read it. Don't worry about Sandhi, just get familiar. Durena Hyavaram Karma, Buddhi Yogad Dhananjaya. Buddhao Sharanam Anvicha, Kripanaha Pala Hetavaha. Okay. So now step 2, you try to look for some indicators. What do I know so far based on my knowledge? You say durena. Okay, so that's instrumental. Obviously, hyavaram, that's sandhi there. So avaram, what could that mean? Karma, okay, action. Buddhi yogat. Okay, so that's potential ablative, right? Buddhi yogat, from the yoga of intelligence. Dhananjaya, that could be Arjuna. Buddhao, so buddhao, that's a locative. Sharanam anvicha, okay, we'll see what that means. Kripanaha palahetavaha. Okay, so if you were to know all of the words and we would directly translate it without applying any grammar at all, it would look like this. So durena is by far because it's an instrumental. He, as we said before, he is usually a filler, but usually you can interpret it as indeed. So durena he, so by far indeed. And then we've got avaram, that means inferior, avaram. Karma, action. So by far, indeed, inferior action. And then you have to put the asti at the end, is. So in other words, by far, action is indeed inferior. Line 2, from yoga, so buddhi yoga, from yoga of intelligence. That's just a simple compound, by the way. From yoga of intelligence, Arjuna. Okay, so what do you think this is saying so far? By far, indeed, inferior action is from yoga of intelligence, Arjuna.
Action is indeed by far inferior from yoga of intelligence, Arjuna.
Good, yeah, from wisdom, from knowledge. For example, you go to a doctor cannot apply any action. He has to first know a lot about the physiology of your body that requires intelligence before he can apply action. Next, buddhao, in intellect. And then we've got sharanam, refuge. And then we've got imperative, anvicha. Right, and so you've got anvichati is he, she, it seeks. Now this is imperative, anvicha, you seek. So in intellect, refuge you seek. So you seek refuge in the intellect. And then we've got kripanaha. Kripanaha, this is a plural. Kripanaha, miserable. And then filling the little in between. This doesn't exist, I just filled it in. Miserable are, and then we go palahetavaha. This is bahuvrihi. One whose member 2 is member 1. One whose member 2 is member 1. One whose motives are fruits. Now, I'm not going to tell you what that means. You tell me, because this is a bahuvrihi. You have to do the implied meaning.
Anyone who has expectations of the fruits of actions that they do are only going to be miserable.
Good, excellent. So Rani got it right on. So miserable are those ones. Who are those ones? The bahuvrihis, the compounders. So the whole Gita, basically, most of the compounds are bahuvrihi. That's why there's so much to say about the Gita, because you can interpret it in so many different ways. Let's talk about how to memorize a verse. So there are 5 methods of memorizing a verse. The first is called Samhita Patha, recitation as originally seen with its original sandhi. So there's no changes. So we go like this. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhao sharanam anvicha kripanaha palahetavaha.
Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha kripanaha palahetavaha.
Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhva sharanam anvicha kripana phalathetava.
Method 2, pada patha. This is word reading. We strip out the sandhi, and the compounds are broken down into parts. For example, dhananjaya into dhanamjaya. You don't really have to do that, but some parts you can leave it if they're familiar to you. Okay, let's try this. So this is sandhi stripped. Durena hi avaram karma. We can even put a tone to it. Durena hi avaram karma. Buddhi yogat dhanam jaya. buddhau sharanam anvicha kripanaha palahetavaha.
Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yogat dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha kripanaha phala hetavaha.
Krama patha. This is the third method. Krama patha. Step reading. This involves a rhythm. Each word is recited 2 times in steps, and the rhythm would be 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. And this applies to every line, by the way. So this is for line 1. There it is for line 1. This will also apply for line 2. So let's see what this sounds like. Listen. Durena hyavaram. Hyavaram karma. Karma buddhi yogad. Buddhi yogad dhananjaya. Buddhao sharanam. Sharanam anvicha. Anvicha kripanaha. Kripanaha palahetavaha.
Durena Hyevaram karma buddhi yogata dhananjaya. Buddhau sharanam anaviccha kripanaha palahetavaha.
Fourth method, jata patha. Twisted reading, forwards and backwards. Again, you apply this whole thing to each line. Okay, here we go. Listen. Durena hyavaram. Hyavaram durena. Durena hyavaram karma. Hyavaram karma. Karma hyavaram. Hyavaram karma buddhi yogad. Karma buddhi yogad. Buddhi yogad karma. Karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya. Second line. Okay, I'll actually mark it what I'm doing. Buddhau sharanam. Sharanam buddhau. Buddhau sharanam anvicha. Sharanam anvicha. Anvicha sharanam. Sharanam anvicha kripanaha. Anvicha kripanaha. Kripanaha anvicha. Anvicha kripanaha palahetavaha. Last one. Ghana patha. Ghana. Think of Ghana as in country in Africa. Ghana. Forwards, backwards with more variations. Durena hyavaram. Hyavaram durena. Durena hyavaram karma. Durena hyavaram karma. Karma hyavaram durena. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yogad. Hyavaram karma buddhi yogad. Buddhi yogad karma hyavaram. Hyavaram karma buddhi yogad dhananjaya. Done. Okay, and then we do the same for line 2. Homework. Practice the Liberation Theology Sanskrit app at free time. We need to learn the paradigm in the book, which we have just now going to get a glimpse of. Okay, so next page is 49. So page 49 and 40 and 50 can be found on LRV 24 and 25. So these are the nouns ending in as, manas. Okay, repeat that, manas. And I want you to go through this paradigm, 24. They are strongly generic, by the way. So if we go to the back of the book and we find those strongly generic paradigms, they will follow this formula. And also note, this is masculine and feminine, yeah? Okay, so page 24 is masculine and feminine. Oh, there it is. So manas is neuter, by the way. The only difference between neuter and masculine and feminine is this section. Okay, so there's not much to remember. You only have to remember this for masculine and feminine, and this for neuter. This section is exactly the same here, exactly the same here. So your homework is to go and say manaha, manasi, manamsi, manaha, manasi, manamsi, manasa, manobhyam, manobhihi. Go through the whole paradigm. Shake heads. Cool. Okay, so this will be done. So what will be done? LRB 24, LRB 25. How so? By saying it out loud. If you want to write it out, even better. Find a verse in any book and try to memorize it using these 5 methods. Vocab on page 55. Angiras. Angiras is a Vedic fella who is a sage. Angiras. Obviously, it's a masculine, so you will go to LRB 24 and decline it according to LRB 24. Angiras. Repeat out loud. Angiras.
Angiras.
Good. It just means Angiras, a rishi. Next one. Ish. Ichati. You already know this. He desires, seeks. Ichati.
Chati.
Good. Chetas. Chetas. Mind. Chetas. Tapas. Austerity. Tamas. Darkness. Tejas. Light or splendor. Duram means in the distance. Usually it will be dure because in the distance. Dure, in the distance. Next one. Durena, by a distance. Or this is an indeclinable also. Don't always confuse it with a by. It can be just far by itself. So when you see durena, it can either mean by a distance or far. Next, namas. So when we say namo namaha, what we're actually saying is namaha namaha. In other words, we're saying reverence, reverence. But why is it namo? Because of sandhi. Namo namaha. Namas namas. Buddhi. Buddhi. Next one, manas. Mind. Maha. This will be in a compound. And if it's in a compound, you would make it maha. And the last A will be long. So you want to say big elephant, maha gajaha. Big army, maha sena. Sharanam. Refuge or shelter. He. Because, indeed, certainly, because, or for and because are usually the same. Now, careful, this is not for as in I will trade my goat for your cow. This is a for as in, and so he went to the forest for his place is there. This is an old English way of saying because his place is there. Next, create a short story using all of the vocabulary that you have learned in volume 1 and volume 2, including page 55 that you're looking now. A short story.